In this video, I want to break down and cover all we know so far about the Druids and where we'll form in preparations for my League starter for 0.4. This class is looking absolutely feral, and I think we might have found the alpha build of the League. Right, but the actual big questions everyone is asking, does this wolf actually bite, or are we just howling at boss? Now, I want to preface this by saying that the combo potential of this werewolf is very potent with the right setup, like for example PoE Currents and Hero of Ice, which have been already proven at this point. We can potentially pounce from pack to pack while summoning a tons of wolf, and that is going to feel really smooth, honestly. One quick thing to note that I have been working on my written guides on Mobalytics, and I'll try to have the priorities and everything set up properly, so if you want to use the ARPG helpers from the site, it will probably help a bit. But other than that, everything will be updated pretty much hourly when I League start with this build, because I will be playing this build on stream. So drop by and say hi and ask any questions, suggestions, but yeah. In terms of skills, we can make some pretty good predictions based on what has been revealed in the bear form and weapon form so far. This is purely a predictions, and it could be wrong, but I think it's gonna be pretty close. Now, Wreck is our basic attack, and should be equivalent to the Maul from the bear, so it should be available at level 1. It is fast, has a bit of co-conversions, and it combos really well with Lunar Assault. Lunar Assault is also revealed already, so we know it's equal to Furious Slam of the bear, and we also get that at level 1. We'll be spamming Lunar Assault to freeze the enemies and Wreck to drop the ice shots for AoE damage. It looks like these skills are fairly fast, and the cone angle of Lunar Assault seems quite good for a level 1 skill, and it suits a hit and run playstyle perfectly with the wolf because we'll be pretty fast. The third level 1 skills should be Pounce in my opinion, as it should be similar to the Bear Rampage because it's gonna be a movement attack and it fits the theme pretty well with the wolf. It creates a mark, and when you kill that enemies, a wolf will spawn. Now, the wolf is labeled as a companion for now, but I suspect that's not going to be the case, and looks like it's gonna stack and count as minions, but we'll have to wait and see. I do think, however, that it's quite bursted in the early game, because we basically can pounce between packs to packs. We'll be summoned tons of wolves, and the playstyle will be very fluid. The rotation for us in the early game will be quite simple. For AoE, we'll be using Pounce to create the mark, Lunar Assault to freeze, and Wreck to finish and summon a wolf. Add-ins Contagion as well for the first few levels, and you should be good to go. You won't need Contagions a bit later on, but it's really helpful for AoE in the early games. You want to use Pounce on cooldown pretty much to keep up as many wolves as possible. Any damage in the early games will help, and I assume that the wolf is going to have some pretty good and decent basic damage. For single targets, we'll be using Frost Bomb for elemental exposures, Lunar Assault for freezings, Wreck as an auto attack and to claw out the ice sharks, and it's worth noting that if you can bring a few wolves into the fight, it should help tremendously. Now, I'm not sure what we'll be getting at level 14, but I'm just gonna put Arctic Howl in here for now. I do think that it might be an attack skills that is not revealed so far in the trailer. For a lot of other class, at level 14 you get another tiers of attack skills, but it might just be a bit different for the wolf since it's a bit more one-dimensional. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see for that. The skill is basically a wolf cry, it creates shield grounds, and it adds cold damage to your attack and also buffing the wolf packs, which is why it's gonna give you like a tons of bursts and a lot of front-loaded damage if you have if you bring the wolf packs into the boss. At level 22, we'll be getting Cross Slash, and I do think that Cross Slash has a lot of potential to be one of the meta skills of this patch. So it has an AoE component, but it also have a single target DPS component, as the Cross Slash itself is like a huge AoE in a slash, in like an X shape. And then there's also a shockwave component, which basically flings all the ice fragments on the ground into the single targets. And also the skills, when hits a mark enemies, will activate the mark as well. So that opened up like tons of new options, as Pounce is also a meta skills, and at level 22-ish you can start socketing the marks into the spell, and you can activate basically both mark to summon the wolf and also give extra cold damage attack to your build. It will change your rotation a little bit. But after Act 2, when you get Cross Slash and Arctic's Howl, basically you want to use Frost Bomb again for exposures. And then you want to use Arctic Howl, Pounds to create the mark, Cross Slash right away. Both of the skills have cooldown, so it's good to just kind of use it in the beginning. Activate the mark, summon the wolf, and then Luna Assault to freeze, wreck, and then Cross Slash again to basically flink all the ice fragment onto the boss. And that is going to be our default setups going forward from Act 2 all the way until level 52, where we get access to Lunar Blessings. Basically this one shift into Werewolf, that's fine. You offer your rage, so if you do have rage, you will get a longer durations of Lunar Blessings for a longer burst. Now, I do want to add that you can get rage by default, so you don't have to go into bear forms. You just need to socket the rage support into wreck. It's a skills where we attack very fast, so we'll get tons of rage for Lunar Blessings. And similar to Arctic Howl, this one also provides extra cold damage, attack speed, and move speed for yourself and your wolf minions. It gives you a tons of damage gain as extra cold damage, which is a really good thing because it's like another multiplier in a different damage bucket. But yeah, Lunar Blessing is looking incredible. This one is also a spell, so I assume it would share cooldowns with Arctic Howl, so it is something that you can probably have both up at the same time. I kinda like this class because everything is so front-loaded on the wolf, which means that your damage late games, when you have enough damage, is going to be pretty crazy. You will go very fast from pack to packs, pouncing from packs to packs, and which brings me to my next point, because Herald of Ice and Posicern is also a very strong combo to set up and run on this build. By default, our damage all have cold damage, or you can add extra cold damage into the build, and we can freeze enemy, but we can also chill enemies, and we can pop packs, which is Herald of Ice. So I assume that when you have enough damage, you can just pounce from pack to pack very fast, so a little bit of cooldown recovery would help in this build. There are tons of good billion damage multiplier in the builds, and that is what you kind of need to just kind of streamline and make the build really good. Traveler Wisdom is basically a from nothing jewels with bigger radius, but with the downside that you have to actually allocate the keystones. Now, if it stays as is, I think it's gonna be pretty broken with the oracles and new ascendancy point as well, because it's giving us like a tons of new passive points and also notables, which are gonna make your pathing a lot more efficient. With that being said, everything is untested, so play at your own risk. Right, so I do want to have a small sections where we're gonna talk about the passive skill tree change and what are my plan for league starts. So we don't really know exactly on how they're changing the starting areas, but from my understanding, they should add a bunch of generic extra damage into this area. So my plan is to basically click on anything that gives percentage damage. Now, from what I know, some of these early game note is going to change to percentage damage, which is something that they show on PoE 2DB, but again, anything is subjected to change, so yeah. But it would make sense if they add generic damage, and that's what we're going to click. Now, for pathing wise, I think the most interesting thing I want to do is, at least later on in the games, is we want to path over to grab this new keystone right here. Now, this new keystone right here, I think it looks like a wolf is howling, or maybe something, and just from the confirmation yesterday, we will be getting a new keystone that allows you to use scepters along with talisman. And the scepter that we can use later in the game, and it's not that expensive, is Guiding Palm of the Eye, which adds damage as extra cold damage, and also give you the aura that says allies in your presence deals extra added cold damage. And from my understandings, allies mean anything like minions, other entity that fights alongside you, which I think Wolf would qualify, because it also has its own stats. So the scepter is going to be pretty good for us. Being on this part of the tree, meaning you have access to tons of more new passives and notables with the Oracle Ascendancies, which means that you also want to look out for any good locations that you can allocate the keystones, and then you can use that to allocate all of the notables, which usually they are much stronger, and it is a lot more efficient to do so. But yeah, the generic pathings, we're gonna go from the starting areas, and then we will start to, I think we'll like head over here. There's like a bunch of good notes over here. They change a lot of notes, but these are the rage notes, and these are the elemental notes, which stay the same. So I want to grab that at least, and then I think we get like new generic damage note over here, and then I think we'll be grabbing this as soon as we can. There's also a downside to that, but I don't think it's gonna be a problem because we don't use that much spirits anyway, and I think Scepter also provides the spirits. Besides that, you know, for a smooth campaign, make sure you click on as many of the good notables and passive that give you damage. Generic damage is good enough for campaigns. I'll be updating my tree live as I go through the campaign as well, so make sure you keep checking back on my Mobalytics guide. Now, going into this blind, and because it is a new build, I want to make a recommendations or like the common pitfall for you to avoid if you want to do more damage on this build. Now, Ice Bites on Looter Assault should be a given because anytime you freeze an enemy, it gives you extra cold damage. And other damaging skills can use cold attunement to scale that cold damage even further. Now, that means that any source of elemental added damage that is not cold will get reduced, so just be aware if your weapons, rings, glove, you know, added like a bunch of fire or lightning damage, just be aware that it could be reduced. So if you do have a tons of them, make sure that you replace cold attunement with elemental armament, for example. And with this build being a martial attack build, the weapon slot is going to be the most important slot, you know, follows by the rings, gloves, any slot that give you extra added flat damage, especially physical and cold damage. In terms of how to get your upgrades, you don't have a lot of options when you are league starting. I highly recommend you to basically save all your exalt to spend on weapons. Ring slot also give a bunch of added damage, and also glove slot give the same things and even plus melee skills. Make sure you save your hard-earned currency for that. And another thing is, Position is also a pretty potential options early on. It should help you a lot throughout the campaigns by helping you popping the packs. But I think it's gonna be pretty expensive early on, so if it's too expensive, don't try to break a bank for it. Basically, any other basic rings which add flat physical damage and cold damage will give you more single target damage, and usually that's where you're gonna have problem in the campaign. But that is going to be the video for now. Good luck and rest well before league start. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.